This is my disclaimer. Everything I share is my perceived truth. This is my first podcast I've ever made, so I apologize for the times that I breathe loud or sound like I'm eating the microphone. With time will come improvement. Also, I mentioned creating videos in episode 1, but I'm going to stick with podcasting these for now. Warning, this podcast does contain very foul language and some pretty disturbing topics, so viewer discretion is advised. And I'm doing this, okay? So, why am I doing this? Okay, let me get comfortable. Why am I doing this? Well, I improvise, which seems to be partially a theme of my life, especially through the harder parts, because that's what I've had to do, is improvise and adapt and evolve. Granted, the evolving part took a lot of fucking bullshit to get to, but it happened. And everybody's journey is different and everybody gets there at different times. I just happen to be extremely fucking hard-headed, and I was literally living a delusion. Honestly, that's what I'm convinced of at this point. I also spent pretty much my entire life blaming my mom for the shit she did and the fuck ups she made while I was growing up. And one valuable thing that I've learned is karma is real, and the universe is a very powerful thing. And our minds are an extremely powerful thing. Whether used for negative things or positive. I mean, that starts off with, how we're raised for sure. But at some point we become adults and we are given the opportunity to grab that steering wheel, that's driving our life on whatever path it is we are on. And if we don't like it, we can go another path. Or we can keep making excuses and continue down that shitty-ass path. I'm telling you, as someone who drove that path for a long time, that there's nothing good along the way. Lessons learned, yes. But I don't think that you really have to go through like what I personally have been through in order to learn those lessons. Now, anyways, I'm not going to get too far into that. The point is, there is nothing good that comes from it. And that road just gets darker and narrower to a point where you get completely lost. So lost that you can't even find yourself. And you have no hope and no direction. And anyone that was in your life that loved you and protected you before has distanced themselves because they have to protect themselves now from you. So now you're completely alone in this dark, scary place. And the only thing that's around you is darkness and evil and people that want things from you and could give 2 fucks about your future, about your happiness, about you as a person. And you lose any motivation to live very quickly in that environment. And so to pull yourself out of that is nothing short of a miracle. And I'm still amazed and surprised that I did. Granted, it took 364 days in jail hanging over my head for me to get that last push I needed. That's not true. Because you know what? I had that hanging over my head for years. I was on warrant, on the run, for 3 years. So, like, when I finally faced all my bullshit, they had to take a pause in the court hearing for the prosecuting attorney and my attorney to sit together to count the amount of time that I was on the run to figure out how much probation I would be on. Like, it was ridiculous. And honestly, what my final push were the fucking nightmares that I kept having. Specifically about my youngest daughter, like something bad happening to her, and I couldn't do anything about it because I was a fucking homeless drug addict that was not allowed around her. Like, how do I protect my child when I'm like that? And how do I protect my child if I'm dead? I don't. And that was my final push. And it took, so let's see, I did 4 months of inpatient. I did 11 months of outpatient. I've been clean off of fentanyl for over a year, which, praise God, I don't do Suboxone, I don't do methadone, nothing. And just saying that right now, I'm like in fucking awe, because for so many years, I felt like I couldn't even function without it. Like, I would go into panics if I didn't have it. Like, it consumed me. It took my soul. It was a literal living nightmare. Which if you stick around, you're gonna see, because I recorded a lot of that time in active addiction, and a very real and raw look into how I was feeling, the shit I was thinking. And as I watch it back, because I'm putting it together because I'm going to start posting it. And as I watch it back, I am like, I forget how common talking about killing myself was, or preparing for my death, writing letters to my kids because I was convinced that I was going to die of an overdose. And at that time in my life, I welcomed it. I was also in an extremely abusive relationship. It's crazy, dude. And here I am. I've lived on my own for over a year. I working full time and got promoted at my job. I have no more probation. I had court a week ago, and my case is finally closed after 5 years. And it lasted that long because 3 of those years I was on the run. The only time I ever showed up for court was in handcuffs when they picked me up on a warrant. So, yeah, I cannot believe it's closed. I'm still just like in disbelief. I've had my license for over a year. I bought the newest car I've ever owned in my life. And I own it. I have a beautiful place. Like I said, that's mine. I come home, I do what I want to do. I don't answer to nobody. I have my peace. I am not being put down. And without that stuff, I've been able to find myself and build my self-worth. And continue to nurture that as well as my mental health. And how fentanyl is affecting just everything in Washington State. It's just, It's insane to me because when you're in addiction, you don't give a crap about what's going on in the world at all. Also, you just kind of avoid reality, really. I mean, that's the most simple way to put it. You avoid reality. If it's something that makes you uncomfortable, it don't exist. It's crazy. But, yeah. And then, come on, there's some others. But I have been at my job for May 14th will be a year. Biggest news. So before I went to treatment, I had not even talked to my youngest daughter in 3 years because I wasn't allowed to. If I was using, I wasn't allowed to see my daughter or talk to her. Well, not only do I see her regularly, but this Saturday is the first time I get to take her, just me and her, and go do something. I have not been able to do that with her in 5 fucking years. It's just fucking crazy. All 3 of my kids are amazing. They are absolutely amazing. I'm their mom, so you expect me to say that, but I'm telling you, from the trauma that they have experienced over the last 5 years of me, really, abandoning them, even though, in my heart and soul, I wanted to be with them, I was fighting a fucking demon that wanted me dead. And I wasn't there for them. I didn't get my shit together and keep it together for them. And so they have experienced a lot because of that. And they still are just incredible. They are learning by me, not from me, if you know what I mean. They're not following that path. They're fucking doing great in school. They're making good choices, And I just want to be like the mom that I didn't have as far as them being able to talk to me, because I have been in a dark place. And growing up, I wasn't allowed to make a mistake, basically. If I made a mistake, that was the end of the fucking world, and I was a piece of shit. Not to my dad, but anyways, I don't want my kids to feel like that, because then they're going to grow up feeling like they have to hide any imperfection or struggle they're having, like I did. And then at some point you break, you cannot hold that pressure anymore. And all of that shit that you don't talk about and you don't let anybody see, and you got to put on a smile. And I don't want them to feel that way, because guess what? We are human, and part of being a human is making mistakes and learning from them, learning opportunities, evolving. We're constantly changing. We're constantly growing. We're constantly learning. And that is okay. If you're not hurting anybody else, then it's okay. Now, when it comes to some things, like people hurting other people and stuff like that, that's different. Okay. Regardless, I'll stick by my kids no matter what. But I want them to know they can talk to me. And I want them to know no matter what the hell they do in their lives, everything's going to be okay. As long as they're able to take accountability and take the steps needed to grow from it and learn from it. And you're going to slip and you're going to fall. And you might repeat the same mistake a few times, like I did. But as long as you're trying and your heart's in the right place, it's gonna be okay. The only time you fail is when you stop trying. Think about that. The only time you fail. Have you ever heard of somebody trying and putting everything they have into something and failing? No. Because the only time you fail is when you stop trying. You're like, oh, I failed. I'm defeated. I didn't do it. No. You haven't done it yet. Not you didn't do it. You have not done it yet. Unless you stop trying. The other thing is, always show up. Like, it sounds so simple, but really, I mean, you make plans and you're like, oh, I don't really feel like blah, blah, blah. Show up. The only time I feel like you shouldn't show up is if you have like a sketchy feeling, it's an unsafe situation, but that's a whole other topic. Wow, I just went on and on and on to say I'm putting these videos together to share my hell during active addiction and abuse to hopefully help even one person. Like, for real, that sounds so corny and cliche, but I'm so serious. I mean, I have a freaking tattoo on my leg. My life is my message. Funny, I got this before, like, shit hit the fan. But I've always known, like, I am going to share testimony. I'm going to share my testimony. I will not be ashamed of it. I have guilt. Yes. When it comes to my kids, I do have guilt. I'm working on it. But seeing as I came from such deep-rooted shame, the amount of work I've done to be able to sit here and say, I'm not ashamed of myself anymore. I have guilt, but I know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to, and I'm fucking trying my hardest to be better than who I was then. And that is what's important. I'm not gonna put my kids' business out there, but I will say for any parents that are in active addiction or like recovery, early recovery, took almost a year for me to be able to talk to my girls. And there's times where, one of them or whatever gets mad because, they're like, they're justified in their feelings. Their feelings are fucking valid. They went through a lot. They have every right to be mad at me. And it's a lot of emotions for anyone, let alone someone who's, early in their teen years. Like, I understand that. So it's rough. And it's back and forth. But just being persistent and consistent is key. And it's hard because I feel so much guilt. And I know, my child, the one that really gets mad at me, I know that they are justified in that. But also I have to draw a line or a boundary for my own recovery to not let that suck me into a bad place again. And it's really hard. But I definitely would suggest counseling. Like, really, substance use disorder is a mental health diagnosis. So, and anybody who's ever struggled with addiction knows it is a forever illness. It's something you have to fight every day, sometimes every hour of a day, every minute, every second. And I don't know an addict who has healthy coping skills, So You can never get enough of those. And in order to get those, you get them. I got them in counseling. So, anyways, that's all. I just went on a freaking tangent, but what's new? So today is April 19th, 2024, and I've been clean for a year and almost a year and a half. It's crazy. But I made a goal, from the time I got clean this time, because there was a time that I was clean for 10 months, and I counted every second of every day. I'm 125 days clean, 7 hours, and whatever. And, that consumed me, and I got obsessed with that. And so, when I have a slip or relapse, whatever, I was so hard on myself because of that. And, oh gosh, I have to start back at day one, and blah, blah, blah. That I chose this time to not keep track of it like that. And guess what? So far it's working. Also, just taking care of myself and being patient with the whole process. My children, myself, my progress in, the regular world. And it's working. So, but yeah, I'm just so stoked. I get to take my daughter on Saturday. That's crazy. I'm so excited. But yeah, that's it. I just worked a 9-hour day, so I'm exhausted, which is why I'm sinking in my chair. But, yeah, hopefully I can stay on top of this stuff. And start posting these, but just know it has taken an emotional toll on me to watch these, because back when I recorded these, I never looked at them again. So this is my first time looking at these and hearing me and seeing bruises and just and I'm reliving it again, and it fucking sucks. It hurts. But it's also therapeutic at the same time, so anyways, everyone's doing well. Love yourself. Be patient with yourself. Know how freaking amazing you are. And no matter what the hell you've done, you can always come back from it. As long as you are in line with your values, you're unstoppable. For real. Anyways, I love you all. And I'll see you again. Or, well, you'll see me again. Bye.